now. 3, 2, 1. And here we are. That was quite an introduction. Well done. Good job on the tech. Everybody's doing a great job today. So, what's the topic today? Truth, compassion, and American greed. That sounds like a show. Welcome to part 1 of Truth, Compassion, and American Greed. It matters not who I am. However, I'm sure my name is linked to it somehow. But let's figure this thing out. Two days after Christmas, presents are unwrapped. What did you get? And does it matter? I can see that I missed a couple of hairs on my head. Right there. We'll have to get those later. It would seem to one, the person that's speaking into this mic currently, it would be very clear to that individual that there's an imbalance, and not a lot of people are talking about it. More people are talking about it now than in the recent past. However, it doesn't seem to be a topic that most people want to articulate. Seeing that we have to take a hard look at ourselves and realize that this inequality exists in not just a small, minuscule way, but it's a big problem. So here we go. $2019, almost the end, coming up 220. American elections are coming up pretty quick. Does that really matter to us in Canada? I would say, or this person would say, yeah, it matters to some degree, but in other ways, there's not much we can do about that broken system other than talk about it and find out what we can do to make it different. But let's not get too political right now. However, it's a good indication of where we're at in regards to how important these things are. I guess the question that we have to ask ourselves is, what's it really like right now? What is the truth of the matter? Let's not sugarcoat it. Let's not gloss over the facts. Facts are is America is greedy. And it would seem that this greed, trumps everything else. So, profits come before everything, which is a real problem. Now, do we agree that this is a problem? There are those that say that it's not. That greed is just how it is, how it was, how it's always going to be. Why change it? But from this perspective, this mic is up way too high. It's better in low though. Much easier on my back.
If there's any, it would be main in front. Do you want me to phone them for you?
No, I'll give a call.
Okay, main in front is the only one I would take.
One thing that happens when I do these live recordings is that occasionally I lose the Wi-Fi connection because it's not very strong. So if that happens, no big deal. We'll just pick up from where we left off and carry on. It's just nice to get out and listen to all the natural sounds that nature has provided for us. It's loud in here. I got a free coffee. And it's not just a regular coffee. It's the bomb. It is. I got 4 shots in here. 4 shots of espresso. I don't know anybody who needs it, but because it was free, the person that was serving me today convinced me that just go big or go home. So I decided to have this latte that's in front of me, flat white, 4 shots of espresso and some vanilla. It's very tasty. I can't tell the difference between the 4 shots or 3 shots, so that would make me probably not the biggest connoisseur of coffee for sure. But nonetheless, it's tasty, it's free. Saved up enough points on my card because I am here quite often. And if I want, when this is done, I can get a refill coffee. Alright, so
Will you bring out a bucket of sanitizer, please? Yes, I can.
I got a feeling that this is going to cut out because my... Oh, here we are. We're back. This is not the best system. I like a challenge. So, have we really looked at this thing called greed and compassion and see where we sit? Would most of us agree that there's an imbalance and this needs to be fixed? And if we don't fix it, maybe something not so great will happen? And do we do anything about it based purely on the fact, the common sense that if we don't, then it's going to bite us in the ass? Or do we just do it because it's the right thing to do? Most likely it's important if we decide that this is something that we want to change. If we think that this is important. That we do it for the right reasons, but not always the case. It would seem that there are a lot of people out there that think they are compassionate, and the evidence of this is non-existent in some cases, and maybe we should nail down what it is that we're speaking of. It's a good place to start. Truth, Compassion, and American Greed, Part 1. Let's establish what it is that we're talking about before we get into any kind of solution. Truth is an interesting word. Do we start with the definition of what truth is? Truth means a lot of things to a lot of people. It would seem that there's many truths. It would also seem that we're, as a society, humanity has not truly understood what truth is. And I think it's one of those words that if you explain it, you put words to it, then it muddles the meaning, the definition of it, because as soon as you put a name to truth, then it probably means that you have missed it. Seeing that truth is always moving, but at the same time it's constant. So we can say these things. It might point us or lead us to a deeper understanding of what it means But the true meaning of truth is not it's not necessarily, well, it doesn't reside in the mind. It would seem that truth comes from something else. And when I talk about truth, I'm not talking about I'm not talking about those small truths. I'm talking about the universal truths that truth is a very hard thing to talk about. I think we have to separate truth from fact. Now, facts are truths, but facts aren't the truth, right? But facts are indicators, they're markers. So, fact. America is greedy. It's fact. In general. The overriding issue. No. Bad word. Wrong word. It would seem that in America, the number one thing to shoot for is more. To have more, to be better than. Greed seems to be the fabric that binds binds us together, gives us a common goal. And as you're probably aware, if you've listened to anything that I've said in the past, or that we've talked about in the past, this is not the most optimal way to run a country or to live optimally. So we have countries that are greedy. America. Families that are greedy. That only think about their own bloodlines. Greed. It would seem that if there's greed, compassion doesn't exist. That's truth. It's very important that we recognize, first of all, that we are profoundly sick. And greed is greed has taken over the human mind. We've allowed it to make decisions for us that are based in what seems to be a fear of some kind, fear of losing whatever it is that you have, or the fear of not having what other people have, or the fear of what other people might think. What if Joe down the street saw me driving a Sunfire, rusted out Sunfire? How would that look? The fear of how things look to others is very strong, it would seem. Greed shows its face in a number of different ways, I guess. Not I guess. We know. So, truth of the matter is that we're super duper greedy. And most likely it's not healthy for us. So, what's the remedy? It's in the title. Compassion. I woke up this morning with a thought based on an idea that was presented to me through a talk that I was listening to. And the question that was posed and that I pose now is, what are we teaching our kids? Well, the truth of it is that we're teaching our kids how to be greedy humans. We're teaching them how to take more, to make more, to do more, to monopolize, to have power over others. And is this a healthy teaching? So when I woke up this morning and I was listening to these talks, the question posed was, why aren't we teaching our kids compassion? Why isn't this the highest principle that we aspire to? Why is the economy and the strength of it the basis of how we vote our politicians into office? politicians will, or have, and do point to these markers to indicate somehow to us, the masses, the general populace, that things are okay. Look at the economy. The Dow's up. This makes no sense, right?
And then they fall and break.
I would say, and I would be wrong, only in America can this happen. That's not true. But it's very strong in America. And it always has been since I was, since I came into existence 48 years ago.
Okay, you got dishes.
So, here I am. Here we are. Talking about it. Dissecting it. Here's a question. If the economy indicates to us that it's up, and the reason why it's up is because we've maybe taken measures to ensure that our specific group does better than the other. If we've attained this this result because we have been everything else but compassionate, the economy is good because our military is strong, or because we've imposed sanctions on this country and that country, because we've taken steps to create new deals where the imbalance is in our favor. The imbalance. Words. You can do it, buddy. Is it progress when we impose our ideals and we force our will on others to put more in our pockets? Is it healthy when we use our cleverness to manipulate situations, to make sure that the advantage is ours, and that the rich always get richer and the poor get poorer.
I'll be right there. I just got a whole bunch of food for drive-through. Sorry. Wow.
Sometimes I wish I could take back words. But here's the deal. We're working with a mechanism, the mind, that unfortunately is how do I put it? I've decided that instead of putting words to stuff, if I don't know what I'm saying, I'm just going to take a break and a pause, and I'm going to have another sip of coffee. Latte. All right. Let's try it from a different angle. What's the angle?
Yeah, I put it down there.
Any
It's right
great
there.
civilization that has ever come down the pike in history,
I promise. Oh, there. Okay.
and we're seeing more civilizations that we were never really aware of in the history that we've been taught. History is a lot older, civilization's a lot older than we've given it credit for. But in every civilization that has ever fallen, it's been the direct result of greed in one way or another. Greed, violence, hate. So it never really works in the end, right? Yep.
I should let her babysit Annie.
So why do we do it? Why do we continue heading down this path? You would seem to, one, that humanity's thick. That humanity is a contradiction, or lives a contradiction in their mind. Now, instead of asking why, which one would think is an important thing to understand, why does this happen? Maybe we should. Maybe we should think of that first. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to tackle this right now. Because we're just starting. Truth, Compassion, and American Greed, Part 1. Have we all just resigned ourselves to not fixing this problem and creating a world where this greed just perpetuates, multiplies, and in the end takes over? Question: is this something that we want for our kids? Question: is this something that we want for ourselves while we're here? Question: is there a responsibility that we all have to deal with this? Question: is it important that we look at our own individual selves and get back to the truth of it all? Are we living optimally when we value stuff over other? Question: when do you have enough? Question: if you're at 33% power, should you plug in your computer? Answer: probably. So I'm going to do that.
I just wanted to let you know that, and even if it's like, it doesn't take much, like that's sort of the thing. Yeah. Like, my theory has always been that one should be off and one on here and then open the door. Because it was this that was broken. No, it's one of the second. But like that once a week is just the first guideline.
La-di-da-di, we like to party, we don't cause trouble, and we don't bother nobody. Question: where's the sound? I can't hear anything. Oh, there it is. It's getting a little cold in here, so I put on my toque. I live in Canada. I'm a Canadian citizen. And I'm also an American. How is that possible? Well, I live in America. Canada's part of America. So is Mexico, by the way. I don't know if anybody has thought about that. So when I talk about America, I'm talking about Canada, the U.S., and Mexico. One greedy American continent. America. 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 We're so greedy.
Yeah. Well, Christine had never really skied, so she put the skis on and went down a tiny little hill for her lesson and fell 3 times. She had 1 lesson, so there's no way she's going to be. No matter how good no good, no matter how good that 1 lesson is.
Some are greedy than others.
Oh, it was.
Some are more greedy than someone else. There are levels of greed, but let's get this toucan straight. It's driving me crazy. That's better. You know, I wouldn't want anybody to really take me seriously here. Turn down that volume a little bit. So I'm gonna wear my hat goofy so as to ease into this topic that nobody wants to really talk about. It's no laughing matter, that's for sure. But at the same time, it's not like the person that's speaking to you in this mic right now is invested in the outcome. To the point where if things don't change, it'll ruin his day. Because that's not the case. Can we fix that hat? There we go. That's better.
Don't even tell me that.
Liability insurances in the past too, probably, or liability.
A really good job on the
Yeah.
sound today. Yeah, it's a little could be better. What's the gain at? What does gain mean? There, that's better. Actually, the gain was quite off. Oh, that's so much better. Oh my God, look at that. Perfect. It's amazing what I don't know. I can fill, like, you count the number of books and writings that are out there now, the amount of information that is out there right now. I can fill up all those books with more things that I don't know than what I do know. There's more that I don't know than what I do know. And sound. And mics. Hear that? That's the gain up really high or low. Gain high probably. And this is low, low, low. Isolating the voice so that it's not competing with the background noise. Good job. Learning. I'm a good learner. Common sense tells me that if we were less greedy, we would be happier. Common sense also tells me that if we were less greedy, we would have more. All of us. But we're not all intelligent, are we? In fact, it would seem to one that most do not exercise intelligence. And when we talk about intelligence, we have to understand that it's much different than what one would define cleverness as being. Cleverness is not intelligence. Or put another way, intelligence, true intelligence is not greedy. Intelligence, knowledge. The unspoken. The known. The ignored. It would seem to one that it really doesn't matter what I say. It would seem to me, one, that my opinion matters very little, if at all. But it would seem to one not this one, but one it would seem to one, if we thought this way, that tapping into that is probably the key to understanding and if we decide to fix it, to fixing these issues that are currently dragging us down collectively. So, hey, how's it going? Are we having fun? It's a fun topic. I pick all the fun topics. Now, for the last couple of years, I've been listening to a few people's perspective on topics like this, and I'm not a big fan of quoting others. First of all, because I can never get the quotes exactly right. But here's the essence of the misquote by J. Krishnamurti. And he basically said, and of course I'm paraphrasing, is that how can anybody be good with how things are, considering that the world is profoundly sick? Profoundly sick. That's a quote. The other words I used were just fillers, but the essence of that is what he was saying. So, puts me in a bit of a bind, because normally this guy that's speaking to you in this mic would much rather make you laugh. To brush everything off and just say, hey, everything's okay. Right? Guys, come on. Life is fun. Well, is that true? For most people? Or even the people that think that it's fun? Are they really having fun? Thought. If one has compassion for the poor, question, if one has compassion for the poor, would it make sense that one would also have compassion for the rich? Those that have. Where does compassion stop? When do we hold back on compassion? Or is compassion a constant and it should always be implemented in all situations and with everybody? It's like if we're profoundly sick, if civilization is profoundly sick,
I've laughed and I'm thinking, I guess I can imagine her coming up with this idea and then having to hit a store downtown to purchase these, never been there, never like really been
and
there, and having to purchase it like I feel
the ones that are profoundly sick need the compassion the most. Do we hold back on that compassion just because we have become so greedy? Alright. Case in point. Culture current. Mr. Donald Trump. The greed is very strong in this one. Correct? Which makes him a very easy target. Greed, the pride. Pride is extremely strong in this individual. So, do we hold back compassion for men, women like this that view or that think in these ways? It's easy to have compassion for those that don't have. It should be equally easy to have compassion for those that do. Quote, Jesus, Matthew, don't know the verse or the chapter. I think it's in Matthew. If not, it's in one of the Gospels. Maybe a couple of them. Jesus said, it's easier for a camel to go through an eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. Well, let that sit in. Think about it. What a responsibility those with have. What an incredible responsibility and almost an impossible task, if not impossible, because I don't remember the last time someone was able to fit a camel, a large animal, through the eye of a needle. Because if you know anything about physics, it's it's very rare for this occurrence to happen. So, with that, we're gonna end off. That's where an hour took us. Part 1, Truth, Compassion, and American Greed. So, I'm going to end this this particular session now. I'll post it on Facebook. See if anybody wants to listen to it there. And if you don't want to listen to this, no offense taken. I'm not talking to anybody that doesn't want to change or doesn't see the need to. I'm only talking to those that realize that we do need to make a change, and maybe in the process come up with some cool solutions to get us through this greedy period. I used to be a window washer, and I'm watching someone wash a window right now, and I'm wondering if the window is any cleaner than it was when they had first begun. We're going 2 minutes over here, and I'm not feeling very good about it. We gotta stop sometime. Take a break. So I'm gonna do that now. Truth, compassion, and American greed. Part 1. Ending. Now. End stream. Done. End? Yes.